My name is Alexey Khitrov. I'm the president of ID R&D, and today we're going to talk about contactless voice biometric access in healthcare. So why are voice biometric important? What are the key drivers in this trend to use voice biometric in the healthcare space? First, especially in the COVID world that we're living in, touchless is the key word. We don't want to touch anything. Secondly, ability to secure, to provide a secure access, to provide security of communication and data. That's the key for that's the key supporting trend in the growing world of telemedicine and remote access to healthcare. Thirdly, biometrics are helping to secure the healthcare space, especially in the world of the drug diversion and identity theft. And then finally, biometrics can help to secure and protect patient data, and can do it without additional friction in the user experience. And that's the key two components to any security system right now. We are looking at two key factors: security and the user experience. And very often when we talk about security, when we talk about the inconvenience of current protocols for secure access to data and services, we look at it as a necessary evil. The point that we're trying to make in this presentation is that this evil is not necessary. We don't have to have a terrible user experience when it comes to authentication, both on premise, in a healthcare facility, and for remote access. But first, so let's ask, some of the basic questions. Is voice biometric really accurate enough to protect our healthcare facilities, to protect our healthcare data? Is this secure enough? Is this reliable enough? Can it work in both mobile world and in real environment of healthcare facilities? Is it convenient enough? And that's what we just mentioned. Can it provide both security and convenience? And the answer to all those questions is yes. The latest generation of AI-based or machine learning-based voice biometric authentication brings the accuracy of the biometric analysis to the unheard of levels. It is also robust to noise and environmental conditions, so it can work in a healthcare facility, at the reception desk, in the in the doctor's offices. It can work remotely if you're trying to get access, if you're trying to communicate with your healthcare provider from while walking down the street, or in some other life situation. It's also very robust to things like us getting a little bit of a cold, or, and that is very important point, to us using some type of a PPE or some type of masks to cover our faces. Finally, well, not finally, but very importantly, when we're comparing various types of ways that we can secure our facilities and remote access, we're looking at the various types of threats that we need to address. And the most common threats, especially when it comes to remote access, would have to do with with phishing, social engineering, and some and some other hacks. And the traditional authentication, like passwords, knowledge-based authentication, they're extremely vulnerable to those types of attacks because they are basing authentication on something that user knows, right? We know the password, and therefore we should have an access. Whereas the biometrics are not based on what you know, and we can share the knowledge. We can write our password on the, on the back of our card, or put that sticker note somewhere where other people can see. Where the biometrics are not looking at what you know, the biometrics are looking at who you are. So, and that's the key difference between legacy and traditional method of authentication that are based either on the knowledge or on something that you have, versus the biometrics that are providing authentication based on who you really are. It's also, speaking specifically about voice, why we think voice is so powerful especially in today's world, is that a voice is very simple to use, and voice can be combined with other biometric modalities without adding any new friction to the process. So, so it's a great way to provide security and simplicity of user experience. It also provides a very important component in the way of aliveness. So when we think about the security that comes with any authentication mechanisms, specifically in biometrics. So there are two questions that a good biometric system must be answering. One, is this the right person? So is this really is Alexey? But then secondly, you want to make sure that so the first question, is this the right person? Then the second question is this a person, right? Is this a person, or is this a digital or analog representation of the person? Because if you think about it from a security perspective, you're not gonna try to break the system, break into account by finding my identical twin for for my voice or for my face. But you would rather go online and get a recording of this talk and cut out a few words here and there, or create a synthetic voice, or you can just use my photo from a LinkedIn profile or Facebook. So ability to provide liveness is the key component of any good biometric system, because it ensures the integrity of authentication, and voice can provide that integrity, that liveness analysis that runs in parallel to the matching itself. And then finally, voice is very convenient. We're using voice now when we're talking to our Alexas and Google devices. We're increasingly starting to talk to other devices in our smart homes, smart cars. So it's very natural to use voice for to get to get information, or to communicate both with human or with technology in the way of voice messages or virtual assistants and chatbots. So so voice is a natural way to communicate, and it's a natural way to recognize each other. So let me stop talking for a little while and just show you some demos, because that's the fun part. So so what I'm going to do today is that I'm going to show you how the voice biometrics work. Here's the screen of my phone. I'm going to go to this mobile application, but this application can be attached not just to the to mobile phone. It can be on a tablet, it can be on a standalone device. It doesn't matter. So here's the happy path. I'm going to use my my passphrase, and you will all see the passphrase rise on the screen on my phone. Because what's interesting about voice biometrics is that the worst part of the password experience is that you need to remember the password. With voice biometrics, the phrase itself is not important. It's important who is saying it. So let's see how it works. Golden State Warriors. As you can see, I said a very short phrase, and the technology is showing that verification is successful. It is 100% my voice. It's also showing that anti-spoofing is successful. So we know that that this is definitely me, not a recording of my voice of some sort. So let's try to do something that we're doing now every single day when we're going outside or we're working in a healthcare facility. As you can see, I just put my mask on. So let's see how voice biometrics can perform with the face covering. Golden State Warriors. Again, I said the same phrase, Golden State Warriors, and you can actually customize the the passphrase to your facility, to your company, or even at the individual level. And again, same successful result. We're definitely seeing that it's me, and you can see that we get the same 100% for me with the mask or without the mask. So we can use voice biometrics with the full PPE gear on people, and it can provide the touchless experience. Now, let's say that somebody tries to break into my account and somebody just recorded me saying the same phrase. So let's see what's going to happen here. So I recorded my voice. So it is a recording on my voice on a good phone. So it's going to be good quality audio. And let's see what's going to happen when somebody will play it. Golden State Warriors. So what you're seeing here is that the algorithm still confirms that it is my voice, but the anti-spoofing failed. So the algorithm, the liveness algorithm is now showing that this is not an actual voice of a person. So when I was doing authentication, that was green and in anti-spoofing check was successful. But now we're showing that if somebody records my voice and plays it, even a high quality recording, the biometric technology has the ability to actually identify these type of attempts and stop them. So so that's the type of protection that you can get from voice biometric these days. So now back to our slides, and let's talk about those key drivers that we identified early on presentation. Let's talk about touchless first. So in our COVID world, we know that we definitely don't want to share any surfaces with anybody else, especially in a healthcare facility. We don't want to touch anything. Therefore, we don't want to use the fingerprints. We don't want to punch any codes. We don't want to use any cards that touch any surfaces either. So voice, and I just showed you that voice with or without the mask on works just as well. Is a great way to do the authentication both remotely and for the access control purposes, because for the voice we don't have to touch any surfaces at all. Voice, you can that's something that you always carry with you. You don't need to remember anything. It can be stolen, because even if somebody is recording it, we showed you that when if the bad guy would try to spoof the system with the recording, even the recording of the right voice, the system will stop that person. Again, it's PPE friendly. It can be activated with the wake-up words, just in a similar way that imagine when you're saying, Alexa, do that. You can use the same type of wake-up word for your facility, and then use the biometrics to gain access. It's very quick. You saw that all the authentication, all the identification was done essentially in real time, and it's frictionless. So again, simple and secure and healthcare friendly. It's also another scenario that it's very interesting for voice biometrics is working within the reception registry and in registration in the healthcare facility. You can do both the enrollment and verification just by placing a microphone at the reception, and then the receptionist would ask, if you are onboarding a patient, you just ask the patient to repeat the phrase 3 times. And again, it can be a branded phrase, at this hospital, my voice is my password, or it can be personal to the particular patient. You can assign a number, you can assign a particular phrase, or it can be a generic phrase for everybody. So again, in order to enroll somebody, all we have to do, just ask the person to say this phrase 3 times. Then every time that patient would come back, in order to verify the identity, you don't have to give a physical document, which again is a surface that everybody's touching, to the receptionist. You go into the receptionist, you claim your name, you say your quick password or passphrase, which you don't need to remember. The receptionist can actually prompt you to say it. And then if you're the right person, then you're in, and if you're the wrong person, then we can raise some red flags and go through a more detailed process of registration. So it's secure, it's simple, it's contactless, solution for check-in in healthcare facilities. It's also a great solution for remote access to healthcare. And this is one of the big trends that we're seeing in the industry right now. We know that telemedicine is on the rise. The ability to communicate with a healthcare provider, with a doctor or nurse, remotely without physically going to the hospital is extremely important. And in order to be able to facilitate that communication, we need to make sure that the doctors can actually get access to the right records, and they can share that sensitive healthcare information with the right patient. In order to do that, we need to make sure that the patient is properly authenticated in that remote channel. Again, voice is a great way to do that. We can use the voice login into the mobile app. We can also do it continuously. So great way to facilitate this secure connection between the patient and the healthcare facility and the healthcare provider, and the ability for the healthcare system to trust that connection and to be able to share the sensitive data remotely in a way that's simple to use and secure. And here we're talking about the various types of channels where that is possible. First, of course, is the phone. So you can call you can call a doctor or healthcare facility. If there's a call center or the IVR system, the voice biometrics can be attached and deployed there. We can also use it for video calls and communication and remote communication that way. We can also use it attached to virtual assistant and the messaging platform. So really, voice can help you to establish that secure connection between the patient and the healthcare worker in this omnichannel environment. So how would it work? It's actually very simple. So in order to enroll, and in this case, I'm actually showing you the combination of voice and face. So where possible, we actually like to combine multiple modalities. So if it's a call center, we'll just rely on voice. If it's mobile, why don't we use voice and face together? So in this case, we're enrolling with voice and face. In order to enroll, I would need to repeat my phrase 3 times and then take a selfie. And that's it. So the enrollment takes just a couple of seconds. And then as I communicate to my healthcare provider, I can choose the way I communicate. I can do it through the phone call, through the video call, through the virtual assistant or the messaging platform. And we can attach that biometric enrollment to all those communication channels. And here's an example how it can be done in the virtual assistant or chatbot channel. So here we can actually provide completely frictionless experience and use multiple layers of biometrics to provide this seamless experience. This solution is called ID-R&D SafeChat, and it provides 5 layers of biometrics and 0 user experience.
And this is a banking concept where I'm going to both type and enter my voice. So here I am typing, and I just want to check on my balance. Oh, okay, there it is, very fast. Now my colleague is going to try to break in. And he's not authorized. So now I'm going to use voice as part of a conversational interface, which is really more convenient and probably less spelling errors. Show my last transactions.
Show my last transactions.
And there's a little bit of a lag on the recording, but you see that he has just entered his voice, and he is, wait for it, not authorized.
So what you just seen here is the application called the SafeChat, which collects the data as the user interacts with the mobile app. In this case, it's a virtual assistant. It could be Messenger, and depending on the way that the user communicates with it, either through typing or through voice input, applies various types of biometrics that are collected in the background. So for the user, it's just a normal interaction with the virtual assistant or the messaging platform, if it's the right user. But if it's the wrong one, as you've seen in the video, the wrong guy would be immediately denied access. So if you can picture communication between, patient and a doctor, and somebody tries to, to impersonate the patient and connect to this particular healthcare provider, that person would be denied entry. And what's interesting is that SafeChat does security checks not just at the point of the login, but throughout the entire dialogue between the user and the virtual assistant or the person. So so going back to the key drivers that we identified for the use of the voice biometrics in the healthcare space. One of the important problems that's facing healthcare space is fraud, specifically fraud around the distribution of controlled substances and prescription drugs. Unfortunately, it is quite a serious problem, and of course, biometrics can provide proof that only the right people can get access to those drugs, both on the side of the healthcare facility, so only the right guys can get in, and then you can track what was taken and so on. But it's also that the right guys are the only people who receive these prescription drugs. Finally, the fourth driver that we wanted to mention is the protection of the data. Because as when famous robber was asked back in the 20th century, why is he robbing banks? The answer was simple: because that's where the money is. So the most important and valuable commodity of the 21st century is data, and specifically the healthcare data, and that's why we're seeing so much of the cyber attacks specifically on healthcare data. And what helps the cyber attacks is that a lot of this data is still protected with a very old and outdated technology around knowledge-based authentication around passwords. 80% of the hacker-related breaches are caused by the weak and reused passwords. So we as users, we're overwhelmed with the number of passwords that we have, with the complexion of the password that we need to remember, and that and this contributes to this problem of passwords being compromised. So the biometrics can actually be attached to the healthcare records, to the healthcare data, and that would help to protect it not only online, not only on the mobile apps, but also in the contact centers, and with the virtual visits in telemedicine space, through the messaging boards, with the physical access, and so on and so forth. So we can really have this omni-channel protection for the healthcare data through the use of biometrics, and uniquely voice biometrics, because in some of those channels like contact center, that's the only biometric data you can use. So of course, if you want to find one common denominator for all those channels, it has to be voice. So a few words about, in conclusion, a few words about IDR&D. We're the company that develops core voice biometric and liveness capabilities, and builds multimodal biometric and liveness solution based on those groundbreaking core technology. As the name of the company suggests, we put a lot of efforts in the R&D. We push the capabilities of the technology from a scientific perspective forward. We're leading in all key performance benchmark evaluations when it comes to the voice biometrics and liveness, and we provide some of the unique capabilities in the voice biometric and liveness space. And we would be happy to answer any questions that you might have about the applicability of voice biometrics in healthcare. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions.